Hail and welcome to the Heathen Hearth, the channel where we make recipes inspired by the historic and ethnographic imagination. This week, we're making Scandinavian-style meatballs. All around the world, in all sorts of different cultures, any culture that eats meat has a meatball recipe. You basically take all the small little bits of meat that are left over from other purposes and you chop it up really finely, you mix it with something yummy, and then you cook it. Different ways to cook it. Different societies, some of them use steaming, some of them use boiling, poaching, some of them use frying. And so today, the recipe we're going to be following is the very basic Scandinavian style of meatball. Now, there are refinements and changes depending on the country you're in. However, what I'm going to be making today is one that is probably the most basic. It's just going to be meat and bread and shallow frying. Because what we want to be able to do is reproduce something that probably could have been eaten during the Viking Age. And since this recipe is all over Scandinavia and is a very, very basic recipe, we can probably assume that it was cooked at some point during the Viking Age. So, join me for the recipe. For this recipe, we have a number of ingredients we're going to be using. Now, there is, of course, the very basic pork. This is ground pork. You notice it's very, very red. And that's because I'm using a heritage breed pig that's called black pig. And this is a pig that was pasture raised. So it lived a happy life and it should taste delicious. Now, the pigs of the Viking Age, they're the cultivars, the breeds that were used aren't really around anymore. There's a breed in England called the Tamworth pig, which is the closest pig now to a medieval pig. Viking era pigs may have been a little bit like a cross between the Tamworth and wild boar, but the closest thing that I have is black pig. Now, we also have some bread here. This is actually just a white wheat flour, so it's a bit of a cheat. It's not sort of an older style of bread, but it is very plain. It's just yeast, water, salt, and white wheat flour. I have here some buttermilk. Now, this is slightly salted, and it's what we in North America call buttermilk. It's not actually made from the butter making process. So really, buttermilk is the milk remainder after the butter fat is removed, and that's usually called buttermilk. However, this buttermilk is actually low-fat milk that has had a culture added to it. So it's a culture that propagates at room temperature, unlike yogurt, which is a bit of a higher temperature. So during the Viking era, a lot of different cultured milk products were used, and this is a bit similar to what might have been a buttermilk. For frying, we have lard. This is lard from the same black pig. I also have here for seasoning a leek. I also have caraway seeds, mustard seeds, and the gray salt here for seasoning as well. And as a binder, 1 chicken egg. So this is all you need to make meatballs. All right, first thing to do is to take your bread and soak it in the buttermilk. Now this will soften up the bread so that it can be easily incorporated into the meat. Toss that a little bit just to get everything coated. Smush it down a little bit. Now, I've also cut the leeks up really, really finely so that they can go into these meatballs as well. Buttermilk smells good. All right, so we'll let that sit for maybe 15-20 minutes so that it gets softened up. All right, it's softened quite a lot. Now I'm going to mash it a little bit with the back of a spoon just to make sure that it's nice small pieces so it'll mix well into the pork. All right, that looks quite good. Now, what we want to do is mix in the egg. As well as our leeks. Oh, that smells great. Those leeks have a really fragrant aroma. Love the smell of onions. All right, so we also have the spices here. So we'll take a generous pinch of salt, put it in our mortar here. And we'll take all of the caraway seeds and all of the mustard seeds. We're only looking for a rough grind here on everything. We don't want it to be a full powder, but we want to have a few of them broken open so we have a bit more intense flavor. Oh, that smells great. Great, so we have a sort of a rough grind there. Now I'll put that in. Yeah, that looks about great proportions. Okay, and then in goes the meat. So here I'm just going to mix it all together using my spoon. And then I'm going to form it into balls with my hands. Ooh, little piece escaped there. It's a fairly wet dough, you'll notice. Nope. Yeah. See, there's a fine line between adding too many eggs, though, too. You want just enough to bind, but you don't want so much that it makes the final product really tough. So I think that's probably good. So I'm going to take walnut-sized pieces, small. I like to do smaller size and is sort of more modern traditional. So a piece a little bit bigger than a walnut like that, and I'm going to be making balls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up make the balls and then set up the fryer, and we'll see you back in a couple minutes. Great, it's now time to fry our meatballs. So here's our leaf lard. I'm going to turn my pan on here. I have an induction burner, so I'm turning it to around 355 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to render out this leaf lard from my black pig to get some oil in the pan so I can fry these meatballs out. So finished cooking the meatballs, and we've got our Scandinavian meatballs, and I'm joined here with my friend, and he's going to help me do the taste test. So how about you try it first? We have a meatball here. We also have a prepared honey mustard, if you want to try that on your meatball too. So how about you try yours first? Tell me how it is
first. It's soft. It's really soft, and it's delicious.
That's good. Yeah, this is this, with the bread, it turns really soft, but I really like the taste of the leeks, and it's like, see, this meat isn't all that fatty, but it's fried in the lard, so it's a tiny bit crispy on the outside, but not really. And the meat is more it's this grass-fed pork, so it doesn't really have this sort of like, you know, sort of blank taste of like commercial pork, and it actually tastes a tiny bit, to me, a tiny bit like livery compared to regular meat.
Yeah, it almost tastes fatty, but you can tell it's not. It's not chewy or anything. It's like, it falls apart.
Yep. And it's really delicious, and you can taste the caraway a bit, but the mustard seed just provides sort of like a nice, flavor. It doesn't taste hot or anything at all.
No.
Yeah. Good. That's a really good experiment. Usually don't make it exactly like that. Usually use a traditional Danish recipe. But that's it for this week's edition of The Heathen Hearth. This has been a Nordic way recipe, and keep cooking. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Oh yeah, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell so that you get updates so you know when the next video comes out. Later.